What a year it's been. It's been a year since I quit video games, and it's a little surreal to admit that. I remember when I made the decision last year, thinking about what my life could look like in a year, and almost everything that I wanted has happened, and many things that I could not have known to want as well. Of course, a lot of the change in my life was already moving before I made this decision to quit video games. And so I think what might be edifying for this discussion is to kind of focus on um, what has changed in my life in the last year as a direct result of this decision to quit video games. So, the manner in which I used video games that I quit a week before my 40th birthday last year was the habitual, daily, systemic use of video games as a way of, I think, regulating emotion and giving a sense of community and meaning in my life. Something that I struggled to find and despaired of outside of these digital walls, and which towards the end I despaired of finding within those walls as well. And that's why I quit. It wasn't because I made some moral decision. It wasn't because I knew it was best for me and it was time to do it. It was because I literally got sick of it. And I think that disgust maps directly onto the progress I'd made doing very small, tiny steps to progress forward over the last 5 years. And I've done videos on that. I've talked about my weight loss and all kinds of other things that are going on. But I got sick of it. I got sick of feeling like I was so subject to these video game worlds and communities to regulate myself and to be okay. I would feel the feeling of just feeling emotionally dragged along by patch notes or by things people would say to me in games, or about my place on a DPS meter, or about, my kill death ratio at the end of a session. I got sick of it. And maybe I've been sick of it for a long time. But it wasn't until I had an inkling of what else was out there. It wasn't until I touched the alternative that I could begin to let go of the crutch. And that's what we did. So the first thing that happened as a result of quitting these is I gained 2 to 3 hours back every single night. And at first, this was a panic. Oh my God. I'm sitting alone in a room with my own thoughts for an entire evening. This is something I can't bear. And I couldn't. For a little while, I did everything I could to get out of the house every single night. And some weeks I succeeded. They weren't really good for me, but they did keep me occupied and kept me away from this thing that I did not want to return to. As that became more bearable, then I began to be presented with the opportunity to really feel the things that this habit had masked. Feel my feelings of alienation. Feel my feelings of sadness, regret over past failures and unmet expectations. And I was given the gift that I gave myself of a lot of time to sit and work through these. But sitting in my room was unbearable. So what I eventually found myself doing was going out for walks. And that's what I spent the winter doing. Walking alone out in the neighborhoods, walking by the warm light of family homes or the spills of life that flow out of bars and restaurants as you share a sidewalk with the passersby. And I was given the gift of a lot of time to think and to grieve the life that I was leaving behind. I did not know that this examination was going to take me here, but it was good for me. I was doing some catching up with my soul. And after months and accepting a lot of help from the people and the resources around me, I came to accept these feelings. And especially, probably chiefly among them, was the sense of alienation, which is something that no matter how deeply I invested myself in these video games, I never escaped the feeling of. I never felt like I belonged outside in the real world or inside these digital worlds. Even when I was leading groups of people, even when I was being given compliments or was just meeting my own expectations, I still didn't feel like it resulted in the connecting, meaningful thing that my heart was crying out for. But I didn't feel strong enough to try anything else. At the start of the year, I realized that it was time to teach my heart how to play again. And that in some time over the last 20 years, I had taken all the sense of play and wonder and exploration out of my life, and I compressed it into these video games, to these online experiences. And that was the only place I was giving that sense to myself. Work had become a drudge. The relationship had become stagnant. And that was the one place in my life where I was allowing myself some dynamism and play and testing of boundaries. When I took that out of my life, when I released that habit, I lost all connection to my inner child and my sense of play. I didn't realize it for a while. I knew it felt hard. I knew it felt crushing, but I didn't know why. Eventually, with a little help, I was able to name that. That's another story that I might tell here on the channel sometime. Or I might just keep it within my heart. I haven't decided. But that sense of play was something that I knew that I needed. I also was looking for opportunities to find more connective ways of getting out and using my body. The previous year, I celebrated losing a bunch of weight and feeling more confident to be out in the world with getting out and getting back into singing. That was a life-changing choice. But I felt ready for the next. And so I started thinking about, well, what's the next thing I'm going to add? And one thing led to another, which led me to a flyer for a dance, a community dance happening nearby. And I just said, you know what? Let's go. And it wasn't convenient and it was intimidating as anything. But I went and I asked people to dance. And I danced my ass off. I've been doing that ever since. Getting into my body and out of my head is something I didn't know I needed so bad. God, I needed it. I still need it. There are dances within a few miles of me twice a week. And even when I can go to both, it doesn't always feel like enough. That feeling you get of connecting with someone on the dance floor is unlike anything I'd really ever experienced. You meet people in the real world, and for the most part, it's mediated by a verbal exchange, like kind of like what we're doing right now. But when you meet someone on the dance floor, and you're reading their face, you're reading their body language, you're trying to figure, okay, what am I bringing to this interaction, and what are they bringing? And all of this is subverbal. This is not processed thinking. This is just immediately felt, like deep in the brainstem. And then you're holding each other and you're spinning around and you're alive. In one such case, that feeling on the dance floor translated off the dance floor. And a big question in my life got answered, which was, how long am I going to have to go without feeling my life entwined with another human life, without feeling that sense of love, without feeling that ineffable, indescribable connection? My divorce got rolling last year, and it was rolling by the time that I quit video games. And its finalization was not really in any way connected to this decision to quit video games. It all was happening. And I'm grateful that it all happened peacefully. I'm very fortunate that the person that I shared a life with and decided to forge a different path from was on the same page with me. And that everything that we chose to do newly and separately was done amicably and with love and respect. I haven't really talked about that here. And maybe I feel like I need to say that. So it's been said. And I just assumed that having accepted the idea that I was alone, that this was a lifestyle that I was going to have to really bring into myself and learn to live with for a long time. I ached for something new, but I became aware of the sense that the more I desired that connection, the more my heart ached, the further I got away from it. And the more, in a sense, I hardened myself from the possibilities that were actually around me. Becoming aware of this, I did find my way to being really ready and to being open. And the day that I did that, the sun shone right in. That's a really fun story that I hope to share with y'all sometime. What else? This is probably the headline of this discussion of what's changed. About how the exploration that I was kind of flung into as a result of this choice helped me get caught up in my soul, accept some things I needed to truly move on from the decisions I'd already made, and be open to good new things coming into my life. And it wasn't just dancing and love that had come in. I've also fallen back in love with reading and started to really crack the spines on a lot of things that in my head no, that's poorly stated. That in my heart I wanted to connect with, but that in my head I couldn't tolerate, I couldn't be patient with. There's something about the changes that I've gone through and also this new person in my life that brings me a sense of calm that allows me to tolerate sitting alone in a room by myself. And that results in a capability to sit and read. And I've found so much between those pages. Singing continues to develop in multiple groups. I'm taking my barbershop quartet to a regional competition in about a month. I'm also going with a couple of choruses, but the quartet is what I'm really, really excited about. Quartet is something that I started to do and to work on at the exact time last year that I quit video games. And quitting those and opening that up gave me room, gave me time, not just to do all this great spiritual foundational work, but also just to start figuring out how. How do I go from loving to sing and enjoying singing barbershop once a week with this amazing community of people to having a quartet of people that I'm building a brand and a sound and a form of art with? And that's been really fun. I've learned a lot from that in the last year. I'm asking myself if there's anything else important to share about what changed. Um, I suppose I should have started this discussion by qualifying that I didn't quit playing any video games. What I quit was the systemic daily use of them. And especially for the first 3 months, I actually did quit cold turkey and didn't do anything. But when winter rolled around and when I felt the need to reintroduce a sense of play into my life, I decided to loosen up a little. I loaded up the new Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom. It gave me a lot of solace, actually. Um, and a few months later, Helldivers came out, I think is what it's called. And I played it socially with some friends for a little while and had some good fun stomping bugs. And the only other kind of gaming use that I've had in this last year is socially. So my my dear brother will talk to me about video games and the New York Yankees, and so we find time to play games from time to time, and that's how we connect. Um, but I went from this place of needing the expectation and structure of these video games to feeling their lack and starting to work through what would fill up that terrible emotional gap. And now I'm in this spot where I've filled it. And I have too many good things in my life. And the challenge is to keep up with everything. That's a wonderful problem to have. And one of the things that ends up slipping is making updates like these for this. So today's a fun day. It's a Saturday morning, and I'm about to go meet up with my girlfriend to go and hang out with a friend, a mutual friend. And from there, the day will take itself where it needs to go. And I'm thinking about it with a lot of joy. It's been quite a year. I know this has been a long discussion at this point, but in some ways, I feel like I haven't said very much. Hopefully, I've shared something of value or at least of interest. The path goes on. And although I'm engaged right now with an examination of the year past, what I spend most of my time thinking about is the year ahead. There are more big, great changes coming. It'll be a fun day when I sit down and share those with y'all too. I hope you're having a great day and you're treating yourself well. Remember to be good to yourself and to each other. And I'll meet with you again soon.